The warning unheeded, the vast chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with a low ethereal resonance as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an emergency session. Floating platforms, arranged in concentric circles, held delegates of every imaginable shape and form, from crystalline beings that sparkled in the soft light to gaseous entities contained within shimmering force fields. At the center of it all, High Counselor Zixa unfurled her iridescent tentacles, a gesture that brought immediate silence to the assembly. Her voice, translated simultaneously into the native languages of all presentees, rang out clear and grave. Esteemed colleagues, Zixa began, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with urgency. We have called this session to address a matter of utmost importance. Our long-range scouts have made contact with a species previously unknown to us. They call themselves humans. A ripple of murmurs swept through the chamber. New species were discovered with regularity, but rarely did they warrant an emergency council session. Zix continued, her tone growing more serious. These humans have only recently achieved faster than light travel, yet they have already established colonies on multiple worlds beyond their home system. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. She gestured with a tentacle, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a small blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. This is their homeworld, Earth. A mere 3 centuries ago, they were still burning fossil fuels and fighting among themselves with primitive projectile weapons. Now they have unified their planet, terraformed their neighboring worlds, and begun to explore the stars. The hologram shifted, showing scenes of human achievements, massive space stations, thriving colonies on barren worlds transformed into gardens, and sleek starships pushing the boundaries of gnome space. But it is not just their technological prowess that concerns, Zixa said, her voice lowering. It is their nature. Humans are adaptable, unpredictable, resilient in ways we have never encountered before. The hologram changed again, this time showing humans in various situations, surviving in harsh environments, improvising solutions to complex problems, and displaying both great acts of kindness and terrible acts of violence. They are capable of both remarkable compassion and unthinkable cruelty. Their history is a tapestry of brilliant achievements and horrific atrocities. They create and destroy with equal passion. A delegate from the Silicon Consciousness, a race of sentient eyes, spoke up. High Counselor, surely you are not suggesting that this young species poses a threat to the established order of the galaxy? Zix's skin flashed a pattern that translated to thoughtful concern. Not a threat necessarily, but a force that could reshape the galaxy in ways we cannot predict, which is why we have summoned you all here today. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. We propose that all spacefaring civilizations be warned about humanity, advised to approach with caution to avoid conflict, and to report any significant interactions to the Council. Immediately, the chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates voiced support for the proposal, while others argued that it was an overreaction. The debate raged for hours, with Zixa patiently moderating and providing additional data as needed. As the session was nearing its end, a commotion at the entrance to the eyes chamber drew everyone's attention. A new delegate pushed through the crowd, its exoskeleton gleaming with an almost metallic sheen. It was Kazir, representative of the Zarkoniano from the galaxy's outer rim. Apologies for my tardiness, High Counselor, Kazir said, mandibles clicking in what passed for a Ronian smile. Our empire's borders are expanding quickly, and there was much to attend to before I could join you. Zixa acknowledged the newcomer with a polite gesture. Welcome, Delegate Kazir. We were just concluding our discussion on the human species. Perhaps you would like to share the Zarian perspective. Kazir's compound eyes gleamed with interest. Humans. Yes, we have heard whispers of this new race. Tell me, High Counselor, why does the mighty Galactic Council tremble at the thought of these primitives? The chamber fell silent at the Zarkoni. Dismissive tone. Zix's skin rippled with a pattern that conveyed both patience and concern. We do not tremble, Delegate Kazir. We seek to understand and to promote peaceful coexistence. The humans have shown potential. Kaiser interrupted, his voice tinged with amusement. What potential could a species barely out of its gravity possibly have that would concern the likes of us sixes? Tentacles coiled tightly, a sign of frustration. I urge you to review the data. We have collected the humans' rate of advancement, their adaptability. They're their weakness, Kaiser interjected again. They are divided, spread thin across a handful of worlds. Their technology, while advancing quickly, is still centuries behind that of the Zarian Empire. We have been expanding our reach across the stars while they were still learning to harness. Miss the atom. The Zarian turned to address the entire assembly. Esteemed colleagues, while I respect the Council's caution, I believe it is misplaced. These humans are no threat to us. In fact, they may prove to be a valuable addition. Tor Empire. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Zix's skin flashed, a wearing red delegate. Kaiser, surely you are not suggesting I am merely pointing out the obvious, High Counselor? Kaiser said smoothly. The Zarian Empire has brought peace and prosperity to dozens of worlds. Perhaps these humans would benefit from our guidance. Zix's voice took. On a sharp edge, the Council strongly advises against any aggressive action towards the human worlds. We have seen the consequences of underestimating them. Kaiser mandibles clicked in what could have been laughter. Your concern is noted, High Counselor, but the Zarian Empire will chart its own course as it always has. With that, the Zarian delegate turned and strode out of the chamber, leaving a wake of uneasy murmurs behind him. Zixa raised her tentacles for silence once more. Colleagues, let us vote. On the proposal to issue a galaxy-wide advisory regarding the human species, we must act quickly to prevent any potential conflicts. As the vote was tallied, Zixa couldn't shake the feeling of foreboding that settled over her. The Zarkanan's dismissal of the Council's warning could have far-reaching consequences not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, light years away on the bridge of the Zarkoni and flagship Eternal Conquest Emperor, Zarin himself reviewed the report from his Council delegate. His chide's faceplates shifted in what passed for Asmile among his kind humans. He mused, his voice a low rumble. How interesting. Perhaps it's time we paid these newcomers a visit. His claw tapped a series of commands into the ship's console. On the view screen, a star map appeared, with a small, unassuming solar system. Highlighted set course for the human colony world designated New Eden. Zaron ordered. It's time to welcome our new neighbors to the galactic community and show them their place in it. As the massive Zeronian warfleet began to move, shifting into the shimmering tunnel of hyperspace. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. The Galactic Council's warning had fallen on deaf ears, and the consequences of that ignorance were about to unfold on New Eden. The human colonists went about their daily lives unaware of the storm that was brewing in the depths of space they had faced. Challenges before harsh climates, resource shortages, the occasional pirate raid. But nothing could have prepared them for what was coming. Dr. Alina S. Leave Cobb, biologist at New Eden's primary research facility, looked up from her microscope and stretched through the lab's window. She could see the colony's main settlement sprawling across the valley, its gleaming toe a testament to human perseverance and ingenuity. Another day in paradise, she murmured to herself. Smiling, little did she know that this day would mark the beginning of a conflict that would test humanity's resolve like never before. As the sun set on New Eden, casting long shadows across its terraformed landscapes, the first signs of the impending invasion were still hours away. But in the vast tapestry of the cosmos, the threads of destiny were already weaving together. A tale of courage, survival, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The Zarkoni were coming, and with them a challenge that would either break humanity or propel it to heights unimagined. The next chapter in human history was about to be written not with pen and paper but with blood, sweat, and the fierce determination to survive against all odds. And so as New Eden slept blissfully unaware, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the moment when two civilizations would collide, and the true mettle of humanity would be tested in the crucible of interstellar war. First contact and conflict. The twin suns of New Eden painted the sky in hues of lavender and gold as they climbed above the horizon in the main settlement of Hopes. Landing, the day shift was already bustling with activity. Farmers tended to the vast hydroponic gardens that fed the colony, while engineers monitored the atmospheric processors that maintained the planet's delicate terraformed balance. Dr. Alina sat, yawned as she made her way to the colony central lab, a cup of cyanized coffee in hand. She nodded to fellow colonists as she passed her mind, already racing with the day's research agenda. New Eden was a exobiologist's dream, a world teeming with alien microorganisms and simple life forms, each holding potential secrets that could revolutionize medicine or technology. As she entered the lab, her assistant, a young and eager scientist named Marcus Chen, greeted her with barely contained excitement. "Dr. S, you won't believe what the deep space scanners picked up last night," Marcus said, practically bouncing on his feet. Alina raised an eyebrow. "Another Raj comet entering the system." Marcus shook, his head, his eyes wide. "No, it's well you should see for yourself." He led her to a holographic display where a 3D representation of New Eden's solar system floated at the edge of the projection. A cluster of red dots was slowly moving inward. "At first we thought it was a glitch," Marcus explained, "but we've confirmed it with 3 separate scans. It's a fleet Dr. Cedo, the big one, and it's not answering any of our hails." Alina felt a chill run down her spine. New Eden was a peaceful colony with only a small defense force meant to deter pirates and handle the occasional natural disaster. Whatever was coming their way was far beyond anything they'd prepared for. "Have you notified the governor?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the growing cayenne of fear in her stomach. Marcus nodded yes. "Governor Reyes called an emergency council meeting. It's starting in 10 minutes. Alina took a deep breath. "All right, let's go. We need to be there for this." As they hurried to the Colonial Administration building, the streets of Hope's Landing remained calm. Most colonists were unaware of the approaching danger, going about their daily routines with the confidence of those who had tamed an alien world in the council chambers. Governor Isabel Arias, a stern woman with graying hair and eyes that had seen their share of hardship, stood before the assembled colonial leadership. Her face was grim as she addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'll cut to the chase. We have an unidentified fleet approaching New Eden. They're not responding to communications, and their numbers far exceed anything we've encountered before." A murmur of concern rippled through the assembled officials. Captain Jared Wallace, head of New Eden's modest defense force, spoke up. "Governor, with all due respect, we're not equipped to handle a full-scale invasion. Our defenses were designed to repel pirates, not an arm meta." Governor Rise nodded solemnly. "I'm aware, Captain. That's why I've already sent a priority distress call to Earth, but given the distance, even if they dispatch a fleet immediately, it would take weeks for help to arrive." The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. They were on their own. Tercedo cleared her throat. "Governor, if I may, we should consider evacuation plans. There are cave systems in the northern mountains that could shelter a significant portion of the population." "Good thinking," Dr. Rice said. "Captain Wallace, I want you to coordinate with doctors on setting up those shelters. We'll begin a quiet evacuation, but I don't want to cause a panic as far as the general population is concerned. This is just a drill." As the meeting adjourned and officials scrambled to prepare for the unknown threat, the alien fleet drew ever closer in the void of space. The Zarkoni and Armetta moved with purposeful precision, their sleek insectoid ships arranged in a formation that spoke of military discipline and overwhelming force. On the bridge of the flagship Eternal Conquest, Emperor Zarin watched the approach to New Eden with anticipation. His mandibles clicked in amusement as he observed the pitiful attempts at communication from the human colony. Such primitive beings, he amused aloud. They don't even have proper planetary defenses. This will be easier than we thought. His second in Command General Vexera stepped forward. "My Emperor, our scans show that they've detected our approach. They appear to be mobilizing what little defensive capabilities they have." Zarin's compound eyes gleamed with cruel amusement. "Let them, it will make no difference. Prepare the landing forces. I want boots on the ground within the hour. Show these humans the might of the Zaronian Empire back on New Eden. The colony's deaf defense force scrambled to prepare. Captain Wallace stood in the makeshift command center watching as his small fleet of interceptors took to the skies. It wasn't much, a dozen fighters and a handful of ground-to-space defense cannons, but it was all they had, all units. "This is Captain Wallace," he broadcast to his force's eye. "Won't lie to you, we're outnumbered and outgunned. But this is our home, these are our families, we hold the line here. No matter the cost for New Eden." A chorus of determined responses came back over the comm. These weren't hardened soldiers but colonists, who had taken up arms to protect their new home farmers. Engineers, scientists, all now standing as the last line of defense against an alien invasion. As the Zarkoniano spare, the sky lit up with weapons fire. New Eden's interceptors engaged the alien. Fight ERS weaving and dodging in desperate aerial combat. On the ground, defense cannons fired. Salvo after salvo, their energy beams, lancing up into the clouds for a brief hopeful moment. It seemed like the colonists might be able to hold their own. Several Zarian ships erupted in flames, spiraling down to crash in the wilderness beyond Hope's Landing. But for every alien ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. Dr. Cito watched the battle unfold from the entrance of a cave system, where she was, helping to coordinate the evacuation. FAMs streamed past her, carrying what few possessions they could grab. Children cried. Parents tried to comfort them, all under the thunderous soundtrack of battle. "How bad is it?" Marcus asked, joining her at the cave. Entrance Delina's face was grim. "Bad. Our defenses are barely slowing them down. We need to get everyone we can into the caves." A deepening explosion rocked the ground, and they looked up to see one of the colony's main atmospheric processors engulfed in flames. The loss of even one processor could destabilize the entire terraforming system, potentially making the planet's atmosphere unbreathable. In a matter of days, they're targeting our infrastructure. Alinda realized aloud, they're not just invading. They're trying to make the planet uninhabitable for use. In the skies of Captain Wallace's interceptor, weaved through a hail of enemy fire, he had already lost half the squadron. But they had managed to take down one of the larger Zarian ships. It wasn't enough, it would never be enough. "This is Wallace to all units," he called out, his voice. "Trained fall back to secondary positions, protect the evacuation routes, at all costs," as he banked his ship for another attack run. A blast caught his wing, the interceptor spun out of control, trailing smoke and fire. Wallace fought, with the controls managing to aim his dying craft toward an incoming Zarian lander. In his final moments, he thought of his family, safely hidden in the cave sand of the home he had helped build on this alien world for New Eden. He whispered, closing his eyes as his ship collided with the alien vessel. In a spectacular explosion on the ground, the colonial militia fought a desperate holding action. Men and women who had never seen combat found themselves facing an alien enemy with superior technology and numbers. Yet they fought on street by street, building by building, buying time for others to escape. Governor Rice coordinated the defense from a bunker beneath the colonial administration. Building, her face was streaked with sweat and grime, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Reports flooded in from all sectors, Cassuales mounting defenses crumbling. Hope dwindling. "Governor," her aide said, voice quavering, "we've lost contact with the southern quadrant. The aliens, they're everywhere." Ray closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself a brief second of despair before squaring her shoulders. "Send out a general broadcast. All remaining forces are to fall back to the evacuation points. We can't hold the city. Your priority now is saving as many lives as possible." As the sun set on New Eden, Hope's Landing, burned Zarian troops marched through the streets, their alien forms silhouetted against the flames of the dying city in the caves to the north. The survivors huddled in darkness, the sounds of battle growing ever closer. Dorcedo worked tirelessly, tending to the wounded and trying to maintain order among the terrified colonists. She had seen the depths of human courage today watched as ordinary. People became heroes in the face of overwhelming odds, but she had also seen the price of that courage, paid in blood and lives lost as she bandaged a child's arm. Alina's thoughts turned to Earth. The distress call had been sent, but would help arrive in time, and even if it did, what would be left of New Eden to save in orbit above the planet? Emperor Zaran watched, the invasion unfold with satisfaction. You see, General Vixera, these humans are no mash for us. Their Galactic Council was wrong to fear. Them Vixera nodded, but something in her posture suggested unease. Yes, my Emperor. But I must admit their resistance was unexpected for a primitive species. They fought with remarkable tenacity. Zarin dismissed her concerns with a wave of his claw. Irrelevant. They are broken now. New Eden will be ours, the first of many human worlds to fall before the might of the Zeroni and Empire. As night fell on the embattled colony, the fate of New Eden, and perhaps all of humanity, hung in the balance in the darkness of the caves. Dr. Cito looked up at the alien sky, searching for any sign of hope among the stars. The battle was lost, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. Humanity's response. The emergency broadcast from New Eden reached Earth in the middle of the night. Universal coordinated time within minutes. The highest levels of the United Earth government were awake and convening in crisis mode in the cavernous Situation Room deep beneath Geneva. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing grim-faced officials from around the globe. At the head of the table sat President Adaman Kruma. His usually Joe features set in a mask of determined focus. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his deep voice cutting through the tension. New Eden is under attack by an unknown alien force. The colony's defenses have been overwhelmed and we've lost contact with Governor R. We are now in a state of war. Admiral Helena Jowhead of the United Earth Fleet stepped forward. Her hologram dominated the center of the room. As she began her briefing, the attacking force has been identified as the Zarian Empire, a species previously unknown to us but apparently well known to the Galactic Council. Their technology appears to be significantly advanced compared to our own, and their numbers are substantial. She paused, allowing the gravity of the situation to sink in before continuing. I've already ordered the 1st and 3rd fleets to mobilize. We can have ships in the New Eden system within 3 weeks. But given the strength of the Zarian forces, it may not be enough. President Kuma nodded grimly. What about the Arcturus defense platform? Is it operational? A balding man in a loud coat, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, chief of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, cleared his throat. Mr. President, the Arcturus platform is still in the testing phase. We've had promising results, but deploying it now would be risky. And doing nothing is suicide, countered General Maria Hernandez, commander of Earth's ground forces. If Wellos New Eden Earth could be next, we need every advantage we can get. President Muma stood his decision, made Dr. Tanaka. You have 1 week to get the Arcturus platform combat ready. Admiral Zaya, I want every ship we can spare ready to move out in 7 days. General Hernandez, prepare your best troops for possible ground deployment. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each official. Make no mistake, this is humanity's darkest hour. But we will not go quietly. Into the night we will show these Zarkoni and the entire galaxy what humans are made of. As the meeting adjourned, a flurry of activity erupted across the planet's shipyards that had been dormant for years, roared to life as mothballed. Warships were hastily recommissioned and upgraded. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers, young men and women ready to fight for their species' survival in orbit. The massive Arcturus defense platform hummed with energy as Dr. Tanaka and his team worked around the clock to bring its revolutionary weapon systems online. The I platform, a collaboration between human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology, represented humanity's greatest technology, ICAL achievement, and perhaps its last hope. Meanwhile, in the labs of the Quantum Communication Center in Sydney, Dr. Yuki Wadey made a breakthrough that would change the course of the war her team had been working on faster than light communication, using quantum entanglement, a technology that could potentially allow instantaneous communication across vast distances. We've done it, she breathed, staring at the readouts in disbelief. We can send a message to New Eden. It won't be much, just text for now, but it's something within hours. President Kruma was drafting a message to be sent to the besieged colony people of New Eden. This is President Kuma. We have received your distress call and help is on the way. Hold fast, stay strong. Earth stands with you. We will not abandon you to this alien menace. Hope is coming. As the message was transmitted, across the vast expansion of space. Humanity's response to the Zarian threat took shape in the orbital shipyards of Mars. The newest class of human warship, the Defiant, prepared for its maiden voyage. Captain Aisha Okono stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, the lead ship of the Defiant class, overseeing final preparations. Engineering reports, all systems green. Captain her EXO commander Jack O'Neill reported, whereas as will ever be. Aisha nodded, her dark eyes scanning the bustling activity on the bridge. The Indomitable was a technological marvel, incorporating the best of human innovation and adapting it for war. Its hull was lined with a new metamaterial that could absorb direct energy weapons, while its main cannon utilized principles of antimatter manipulation that even the ship's engineers didn't fully understand very well. "Commander," she said, settling into the captain's chair signal, "the fleet we launch in 30 minutes as the Earth Defense Fleet prepared to depart laboratories and think tanks across the planet worked tirelessly to develop new technologies and strategies to combat the Zeroni threat. In a secret facility beneath the Atacama Desert, a team led by Dr. Carlos Vega had reverse-engineered Zarkan shield technology from debris recovered from previous alien encounters. It's not perfect," Dr. Vega explained to a panel of military observers, "but it should give our ships a fighting chance against their energy weapons." The new shield generators were rushed into production, with teams working around the clock to install them on as many ships as possible before the fleet departed in low Earth orbit. The Arcturus defense platform continued its trials under Dr. Tanaka's watchful eye. The massive station, nearly a kilometer in length, housed a weapon of almost unimaginable power, a gravitational lens capable of focusing and amplifying energy to create a beam that could potentially cut through entire fleets. Power levels stable at 85%. One of Dr. Tanaka's assistants called out targeting systems are online and calibrated. Tanaka nodded, his face a mixture of pride and concern. "Good, but we need 100%. Keep working. We can't AFF for any mistakes when the lives of an entire colony are at stake." As the day of departure approached, President Kuma addressed the people of Earth in a solemn broadcast. "My fellow humans, today we face a threat. Unlike any in our history, an alien force has attacked one of our colonies, threatened our people, and challenged our very existence. But we will not cower in fear. We will not surrender our future to these aggressors." He paused, his voice growing stronger. "Throughout our history, humanity has faced seemingly insurmountable odds. We've weathered ice ages, survived plagues, and overcome our own destructive tendencies to reach for the stars. Now, those stars have brought us a new challenge, and we will meet it with the same courage, ingenuity, and determination that has defined our species since we first stood upright on the savannas of Africa. To the brave men and women of our armed forces who now prepare to journey into the unknown, know that you carry with you the hopes and prayers of every human being. To our scientists and engineers, working tirelessly to give us an edge in this conflict, know that your efforts may well determine the fate of our species. And to the Zarkoni who even now occupy one of our worlds, hear this: you have awakened a sleeping giant. You have united humanity in a way nothing else could. And you will soon learn that underestimating the human spirit is the last mistake you will ever make, as in Kuma's words echoed across the planet. Final preparations were made. The Earth Defense Fleet armada of over 200 ships, led by the UEEs, Indomitable, made final checks and prepared to depart on the Arcturus platform. Dr. Tanaka and his team worked feverishly to bring the main weapon to full power in the quantum communications lab. Dr. Watt Now and her team maintained a constant vigil, hoping for any response from New Eden days had passed. Since the initial distress call in the silence was deafening, then just hours before the fleet was set to depart, a message came through. It was brief. Garbled but unmistakably human. "Earth, hear us. Zark Conan's 2 strong colonies, fallen survivors, northern caves, please hurry." The message was immediately relayed to President Kruma and Admiral Jiao. There was no time to lose. "All ships. This is Admiral Jiao." Her voice rang out across the fleet. We have confirmation that there are still survivors on New Eden. Every second counts. Prepare for immediate departure on the bridge of the Indomitable. Captain Okono took a deep breath. Helm set course for New Eden maximum speed as the massive engines of the Earth fleet roared to life, humanity's response to the Zarian invasion began in earnest. The ships accelerated rapidly, pushing the boundaries of human technology as they raced to save their bagger colony in Thematical Bay of the Indomitable. Dr. Amal Ahsan, the fleet's chief medical officer, oversaw the final preparations of the secret weapon, a biological agent designed to target Zarkanian physiology. It was a desperate measure, one that skirted the edges of interstellar law. But in a fight for survival, every option was on the table. This is our insurance policy, Dr. Hassan explained to Captain Okono in a private briefing. If conventional weapons fail, this might be our last resort. Okono nodded grimly. Litun, hope it doesn't come to that, Doctor, but keep it ready just in case. As the Earth fleet disappeared into the depths of space, leaving their home planet behind, the hopes of humanity went with them on Earth. In the colonies and in the caves of New Eden, people looked to the stars and prayed for deliverance. The Zeroni had started this war confident in their superiority, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson, one that countless others throughout history had learned before them. Humanity, when pushed to the brink, was capable of extraordinary things. The sleeping giant had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The turning point, the cavernous expanse of the northern caves on New Eden, echoed with the hushed whispers and muffled sobs of the survivors. Dr. Alina moved among them, offering what little comfort she could. It had been weeks since the initial Zarin invasion, and hope was wearing thin. Dr. S. Marcus Chin approached, his once eager face now gaunt with exhaustion. We're running low on medical supplies and the air recyclers. Ari starting to fail. Elena nodded grimly. The caves have protected them from Thezaroni, but they were never meant to sustain this many people for so long. We'll have to send out another scavenging party. It's risky, but we don't have a choice, as they discussed plans for the dangerous mission. A commotion near the cave entrance caught their attention. A group of scouts rushed in, their faces a mixture of fear and excitement. Dr. S., you need to see this, one of them called out. Bina followed them to the mouth of the cave, where a makeshift observation post had been set up. She peered through the camouflaged viewing slot, and her heart leaked into her throat. The night sky above New Eden was live, with fire streaks of light crisscrossed the darkness, accompanied by distant booms that shook the ground. It could only mean one thing. A space battle was raging in orbit. Earth, Alinda breathed, hardly daring to hope they came. Meanwhile, in the space above New Eden, the Earth Defense Fleet engaged Thezarkoni and Armada. In a furious battle, the UE's Indomitable led the charge, its experimental weapons tearing through the alien ship's defenses on the bridge. Captain Aisha Okono barked orders as the ship rocked from enemy fire. Concentrate fire on their flagship. We need to take out their command and control. Commander O'Neill's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, we're detecting energy buildups in several Zaran ships. They're preparing to fire their main weapons. Asia's mind raced. The new shields were holding. They hadn't been tested against the aliens' most powerful weapons. She made a split-second decision. All ships, this is Captain Okono, execute maneuver Omega-3. Now the Earth fleet moved in perfect synchronization, adopting a complex three-dimensional formation that scattered their ships in a seemingly random pattern. Moments later, the sky lit up as the Zarian weapons fired their energy beams, lancing through space and mostly missing their targets. It worked. Oil exclaimed. Their targeting systems couldn't predict our movement pattern. Asia allowed herself a small smile. The countless hours spent in simulations developing unpredictable battle strategies were paying off. Press the advantage. All ships concentrate fire on the enemy's port flank as the space battle raged. The situation on the ground was equally intense. Zarkoni and ground forces caught off guard by the sudden arrival of the Earth fleet scrambled to secure their positions in the confusion. The human resistance saw an opportunity. In the caves, Alina and Marcus led a group of volunteers on a daring mission. With the Zarkoni distracted, they planned to infiltrate one of the alien command centers and gather crucial intelligence. "Remember," Elena whispered, as they approached the reposed Colonial Administration building. "We're here for information. Avoid engagement if possible." The small team moved silently through the ruins of Hope's Landing, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and determination as they neared their target. Aronian patrol rounded the corner for a moment. Time seemed to stand still. Then Marcus acted. He threw a makeshift smoke grenade, a clever concoction of local minerals and chemicals that filled the air with dense, acrid smoke in the confusion. The human slipped past, entering the command center through a damaged wall. Inside they found a treasure trove of alien technology and data streams. Alina's scientific mind raced as she took in the advanced systems. "Marcus, see if you can access their communications. We need to know their plans." As Marcus worked on decrypting the alien data, Alina examined a holographic display of the battle in orbit. Her heart sank as she realized the true scale of the Zarian force. The Earth fleet, while putting up a valiant fight, was vastly outnumbered. "Belina," Marcus called out urgently, "I've got something. They're calling for reinforcements. A second wave of ships is on its way." Belina's mind raced. If they could get this information to the Earth fleet, it might give them a fighting chance. But how? Her thoughts were interrupted by a low, menacing click. They turned to find a Zarian warrior, its insectoid face unreadable, leveling the weapon at them in orbit. The battle had reached a fever pitch. The Earth fleet had managed to destroy several Zarian capital ships, but at a heavy cost. Nearly a third of their own ships had been disabled or destroyed on the bridge of the indomitable Captain Okono. Received grim news. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a second Zarkonian fleet. Approaching ETA 20 minutes. Aisha's heart sank. They were barely holding their own against the current force. A second wave would be devastating. Send word to Admiral Xiao. We need the Arcturus platform now thousands of kilometers away." Aboard the Arcturus defense platform, Dr. Tanaka received the urgent message. His team had been working non-stop, pushing the experimental weapon to its limits. "Doctor, we're at 97% power." His assistant reported, "It's not 100%, but it'll have to do." Tanaka interrupted. He took a deep breath, saying a silent prayer to whatever forces might be listening. "Initiate firing sequence." The massive platform hummed to life, its gravitational lens beginning to focus unimaginable amounts of energy in space. A shimmer appeared barely visible, at first, then growing in intensity. On the indomitable alarms blared. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup from the direction of Earth." Asia's eyes widened. "All Earth ships brace for impact. This is it, a beam of pure energy more powerful than anything humanity had ever wielded lanced across space. It struck the heart of the Zaroni fleet, cutting through ships as if they were made of paper. In seconds, nearly half of the alien armada was reduced to floating debris. For a moment there was stunned silence on both sides. Then the comm system crackled to life. "This is Admiral Joe to all Earth forces. The Araris platform is operational. Press the attack for Earth and New Eden with renewed vigor." The Earth fleet surged forward. The Zarkoni, reeling from the unexpected devastation, struggled to regroup on the ground. Alina and Marcus found themselves in a standoff with the Zarian warrior. But before anyone could act, the building shook violently. The alien, distracted by the commotion, lowered its weapon for a split second. All the time Alina needed, she lunged forward using a move she'd learned in the colony's self-defense classes and managed to disarm the warrior. Marcus quickly grabbed the alien weapon, pointing it at their captor. "We need to get this information to the fleet," Alina said, breathing heavily. "And I think I know how." They forced the Zarkoni to lead them to the communications array. With the aliens' reluctant help and Marcus's technical skills, they managed to piggyback a message onto the Zarian-owned communications network to Earth fleet. Elena dictated, "As Marcus, tight Zarian reinforcements incoming 20 minutes out. Prepare for second wave in space." The message reached the Indomitable just as the tide of battle was turning. Armed with his crucial intelligence, Captain Okono quickly formulated a new strategy. "All ships form up on the Indomitable," she ordered. We're going to use the debris field from the destroyed Zarian ships as cover when their enforcements arrive. We'll catch them in a crossfire between us and the Arcturus beam. As the Earth fleet maneuvered into position, the second wave of Zeroni ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They found Sea Chaos, their main fleet, in disarray, a field of debris, and no clear target. Now Asia commanded the Earth ships erupted from their hiding spots. Weapons blazing simultaneously, the Arcturus platform fired again, its energy beam cutting a swath through the newly arrived Zarian forces caught completely by surprise and attacked from multiple directions. The Zarian reinforcements never stood a chance within minutes. The space above New Eden was filled with the broken remnants of the once mighty alien armada. On the Zarian flagship, Emperor Zaran watched in disbelief as his invasion force crumbled. Impossible. He chittered, his mandibles clicking in agitation. These primitives. How could they? General Vexera approached cautiously. My Emperor, we must retreat. The humans, they are not what we thought they were. Zaran's compound eyes flashed with anger. Then resignation. Send the signal all forces are to withdraw. Immediately, as the remaining Zarian ships flood the system, cheers erupted throughout the Earth fleet. On the surface of New Eden, the survivors emerged from their caves, tears of joy and disbelief streaming down their faces as they watched their alien oppressors retreat in the Colonial Administration building. Elena and Marcus shared a moment of stunned silence before bursting into relieved laughter. They had done it against all odds. Humanity had prevailed as the first Earth shuttles began to land, bringing much-needed supplies and reinforcements. The Lina looked up at the sky. The stars seemed brighter, somehow full of promise rather than threat. We did it, Marcus, she said softly. We showed them what humans are capable of. Marcus nodded, his eyes shining with pride and hope. We did, and I have a feeling this is just the beginning. As the sun rose on a liberated New Eden, humanity stood on the brink of a new era. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they. The human spirit, tested in the crucible of interstellar war, had proven itself to be the most powerful force in the universe. Consequences and reflection. The weeks following the Battle of New Eden were a whirlwind of activity. As Earth ships secured the system and began the process of rebuilding, the full impact of humanity's victory began to ripple across the galaxy. On the newly liberated surface of New Eden, Dr. Elena Sad stood amidst the ruins of Hope's Landing, surveying the damage. The once pristine colony was now a patchwork of destruction and resilience burned out. Buildings stood next to hastily erected prefi structures, a testament to both the devastation wrought by the Zarian and the indomitable human spirit. Dr. Saito. A voice called out. She turned to see Marcus Chen jogging towards her, his face alight with excitement. You need to see this. He led her to a makeshift command center where a group of Earth officials and New Eden survivors had gathered around a holographic display. At the center of the image was a familiar face, President Kruma, people of Earth and New Eden. The president began, his voice filled with pride and solidity. Today, he addressed not just humanity but the entire galaxy. Our victory against the Zarian Empire has sent shockwaves through the interstellar community. He paused, allowing his words to sink in. The Galactic Council has officially recognized humanity's right to self-defense and has condemned the Zarian aggression. Moreover, they have invited Earth to take a seat on the Council itself. A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Elena felt a swell of emotion in her chest. After all they had endured, humanity was finally being recognized as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. President Kuma continued. But with this recognition comes great responsibility. We have proven ourselves in battle, yes, but now we must prove ourselves in peace. The path ahead is not an easy one, but I have faith that humanity will rise to the challenge. As the transmission ended, the room erupted in cheers and applause. Lina turned to Marcus, K's glimmering in her eyes. We did it, she said softly. We really did it? Marcus nodded, his own eyes shining, and now the real work begins. In the days that followed, New Eden became a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. Teams of engineers and scientists from Earth worked alongside the colonists to not Only rebuild what was lost, but to improve upon it. The knowledge gained from studying Zarkoni technology accelerated human advancement by decades. Captain Aisha Okono, now hailed as a hero, the battle oversaw the establishment of a permanent Earth defense force in the system as she watched a new orbital station take shape, a mix of human and reverse-engineered alien technology. She reflected on how much had changed in such a short time. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Captain Admiral Joe said, joining her at the viewport. Aisha nodded. "It's hard to believe how close we came to losing it all, and yet here we stand." Xiao replied, "You know the Zarian have sued for peace. Their empire is in chaos. Seems our victory inspired a few rebellions among their subject worlds." Aisha raised an eyebrow. "Are we considering their offer?" Xiao's expression turned serious. "We're considering all options, which is why I'm here. Earth needs diplomats as much as it needs soldiers. Now, how would you feel about an ambassadorial role?" Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stood before a panel of international leaders, presenting his findings on the Arcturus platform. The gravitational lens technology has applications far beyond weaponry, he explained, gesturing to a series of complex diagrams. "We could use it to terraform planets more efficiently, to power entire cities, even to propulse ships at speeds we've only dreamed of." One of the leaders leaned forward. "And what of the ethical implications, Dr. Tanaka? We've created a weapon of unprecedented power. How do we ensure it's never misused?" Tanaka nodded gravely. "That, honorable leaders, is perhaps the greatest challenge we face. We must ensure that our advancement in technology is matched by our advancement in wisdom." As humanity grappled with its new role in the galactic community, the Zarkoni Empire faced a reckoning of its own. In the Imperial Palace on their homeworld, Emperor Zaran faced a council of his most powerful nobles, many of whom were calling for his abdication. "You have led us to ruin," one of the noble chittered angrily. "Our fleets decimated our subject worlds in rebellion, and for what a single human colony." Zaran's mandibles clicked in agitation. "We underestimated them." "Yes, but we can learn from this defeat. We can." "Enough," another noble interrupted. "The time for your leadership has passed. We will sue for peace with the humans and a Galactic Council, perhaps. Perhaps then we can salvage what remains of our empire." As the Zarkoni Empire descended into internal strife, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to discuss the implications of humanity's sudden rise to prominence. High Counselor ZNA addressed the assembly, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with a mix of emotions. "Esteemed colleagues, we stand at a crossroads. The humans have demonstrated both terrifying potential for destruction and inspiring capacity for unity and innovation. How we proceed from here will shape the future of our galaxy." The debate that followed was long and heated. Some council members argued for limiting human expansion, fearing they might become a new threat to galactic stability. Others advocated for embracing humanity, seeing in them a potential ally against future aggressors. In the end, a compromise was reached. Humanity would be granted a probationary seat on the council, with full membership to be decided after a period of observation and cooperation. Back on New Eden, life was slowly returning to normal, or rather a new normal. The colony had been forever changed by the invasion and the subsequent leap forward in technology and galactic standing. Drilina Satu found herself at the forefront of this new era. Her experiences during the invasion and Herald in the Resistance had made her a natural choice to lead New Eden's new Xena cultural exchange program. As she prepared for the arrival of the first official alien delegation to New Eden, a group of curious Zen scientists eager to study human resilience. Elena reflected on how far they had come. "Nervous?" Marcus asked, joining her in the newly rebuilt Welcome Center. Elena smiled a little. "It's one thing to fight for our place in the galaxy. It's another to actually live up to it." Marcus nodded. "True. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's to never underestimate humanity's ability to adapt and thrive." As they watched the alien ship descend through New Eden's atmosphere, Lena felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and peril. but humanity had proven itself equal to the challenge in the years that followed. Humanity's influence spread across the stars, Earthships now equipped with technology that blended human innovation. With alien advancements explored further into the galaxy than ever before, colonies flourished, not just in planets, but on massive space stations and hollowed-out asteroids. The Arcturus platform, once a weapon of last resort, became the cornerstone of a new era of exploration and scientific advancement. Its gravitational lens technology was adapted to create stable wormholes, revolutionizing interstellar travel and communication on the diplomatic front. Humanity walked a fine line between asserting their newfound strength and fostering peaceful relations with other species. Captain, now Ambassador Aisha Okono, found herself navigating political waters as tumultuous as any space battle she had fought. The key, she often said in her addresses to new diplomatic cadets, is to remember that strength and compassion are not mutually exclusive. We must be firm in our convictions, but open to understanding others. The Zarian Empire, much reduced in power and influence, slowly rebuilt itself under a new system of government, one that emphasized cooperation over conquest. Many Zarkoni, inspired by the human example, pushed for reforms and a new approach to interstellar relations. As for New Eden, it became a shining example of human potential under the leadership of Governor Elena Sato Forshi, had been unanimously elected to the position. The colony became a hub of interspecies cooperation and scientific advancement. The caves that had sheltered the survivors during the invasion were transformed into a memorial and museum, a reminder of how far they had come and the cost of their journey. 10 years to the day after the Battle of New Eden, a grand ceremony was held in the colony's central plaza. Representatives from Earth, the Galactic Council, and dozens of alien species gathered to commemorate the event that had changed the course of galactic history. President Kuma, his hair now gray but his eyes still bright with vision, took the stage. The assembled crowd, human and alien alike, fell silent. A decade ago, he began, his voice carrying across the plaza. We faced extinction. We were a young, untested species thrust into a conflict beyond our imagining. But we did not falter. We did not surrender. Instead, we showed the galaxy the true strength of the human spirit. He paused, looking out over the diverse crowd. Today, we stand not as conquerors but as partners, not as a species apart, but as integral members of a vast cosmic community. We have learned much, and we have much yet to learn, but we face the future not with fear, but with hope and determination. As Mama's words rang out, Alina felt a sense of profound gratitude and awe. She thought of all they had endured, all they had achieved, and all that lay ahead. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was ready to embrace its role in shaping the future. The ceremony concluded with a spectacular display of lights in the night sky, a joint effort of human and alien artists painting the cosmos with beams of color and light. As Elena watched, her hand found Marcus's, their fingers intertwining. "What do you think the next 10 years will bring?" Marcus asked, his voice hushed with wonder. Elena smiled, her eyes fixed on the dazzling galactic canvas above. "I don't know," she replied, "but I can't wait to find out." As the lights danced overhead, a symbol of unity and hope, humanity stood on the threshold of a new age. They had faced their trial by fire and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to take their place among the stars. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities, and humanity was ready to write the next chapter in their cosmic adventure. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they. And that perhaps was the greatest victory of all.